where do we start from when we talk about purpose?
When we talk about purpose, we begin from the premise that we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Can there be a consequence to that when people live without a purpose, as if they have no purpose? Service to others is a rent we pay here on earth.
We are programmed to emphasize success and not significance.
Many of us do not live in our purpose. And somehow somebody heard the news somewhere that they can actually live on their purpose. Now the problems start. Where should they start from? Thank you for joining on today's episode of the Obehi Podcast. I remain Obehi Ewan for the host of this podcast. I am a proud Nigerian and I live in Verona, Italy. Actually, Verona is in the northern part of Italy. That if you probably have read the book by William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, you would have heard of Verona. That is the city where I live. So I am very passionate about the power of storytelling because I personally believe that it's the most powerful instrument that we have out there as human being. So we do a lot of things within the era of storytelling. I've written a 5-part book series on storytelling. It's called the Storytelling Mastery. So we do episodes continuously on storytelling, and we also work with businesses, different businesses, particularly founder and service-based businesses who want to own their story. Because I'm telling you too, if you are a business owner, that your story is the most powerful instrument that you have to stand out in the competition. So make sure you pay attention to that. And if you like what we discuss here, make sure you subscribe to this channel and make sure you share also to other people who might find value in it. And guess what? I have the honor of bringing here again my sister from the Jamaica. Of course, if you listen to the African Diaspora Storytelling series, you will see that her face is regular there. So today, we're going to be talking about something particularly important. You're not going to hear it from my mouth. You're going to hear it from her mouth. Dr. Marcia, thank you so much for joining me. Tell the people who you are. Let's start from there, and we are going to kick it rolling.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here again. It's always a great thing to have you to be here with Obehi, and you need to subscribe to his channel. It's a very powerfully informative and empowering an enlightening and insightful channel. I am Dr. Marcia Thomas, and I'm a faith-based leadership consultant and an executive life coach. I focus on Christian empowerment as a writer and as a speaker, and I really help faith-based women leaders. I help others too, but I help these persons to tie their leadership and their life boldly, confidently, and purposefully to joyful, impactful service, which is really aligned to what God wants them to do. And so I help them to lead with purpose and to find confidence and joy and to have influence for this life and the life to come. I am an author of several books. I have a series, Adventures in Language Arts, book 1 to 3. I also have a book, A Leader Like You. I have an anthology, Lessons We Have Learned from COVID. And my newest book is My Faith Looks Up. And it is a leadership devotional guide. And for those who don't know it, it is right here. I don't know why we are not seeing it. But it's
no worry.
Okay. Here it goes. Here it goes.
Yeah.
Here it goes. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Marcia. So just now, before we hit on the record button, we were sort of reflecting on the topic of the day. And when you made mention of the word, I said, this is written with fire, purpose. That is the topic of today's conversation. And it is fundamentally important that today we talk about this important concept, purpose. what is the essence of what you do? Why are you doing what you are doing? What is the meaning to that? So today, Dr. Marcia, based on her experience, based on our study, based on our work, she's going to be helping us to expand on this topic, purpose. So, Dr. Marcia, where do we start from when we talk about purpose?
When we talk about purpose, we begin from the premise that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that before we were born or were even in the womb, God knew us and he established a divine life script, a path for us. So the family that we are born in, whether by default or voluntarily, is not an accident or a mistake. The time that we are born is not an accident or mistake. The community or the country or the environment that we are born in, it's not a mistake. You were strategically and divinely placed there to carry out a work. Now, that work might be that your environment or your beginnings is your preparation ground, your sustenance model that, what would I say now, craft you and fashion and form you for the assignment that you have been given and the people that you must touch. So you are born to do anything because you're given that ability when you're fearfully and wonderfully made, but you are not created to do everything. And so that niche that you must fit into, those persons who you are called to serve, the problem that you are created to solve will come to you as you move through your life path. Now, there are some persons who put that into dormancy or derail it because they take other parts, because they begin to complain, to compare themselves, to compete or to copy what others do and reject the unique part that they have been given. And that derails or put your purpose in dormancy. Once you understand why you were created, the problem you were created to solve, and who you were sent to, the path becomes much clearer and your feet are more established and firmly grounded, and service is what you do.
Thank you so much for that. Purpose. Now let's look at it this way. Somebody might say, I don't know my purpose. Well, actually, many people don't say that, but many people live the life that says that they don't know why they're here. I'm sort of wondering, can there be a consequence to that when people live without a purpose, as if they have no purpose? What do you say about that?
I want to say, first of all, that purpose can be derailed or put in dormancy because persons get desperate or persons covet the success of others, or persons have been brainwashed to believe that they are not good enough and they are not good, that they are wrong. And so if, first of all, you do not know who you are and whose you are, and you do not accept the dispensation that you have been given because of your last name or because of who you think your family should be or because of your new connections or because of your opportunities, then you lose sight of everything. A double-minded man is very unstable in all his ways. And if you don't know what you stand for, you will fall for anything. And if you have to keep telling people what you stand for, you are not standing. Whenever you stand up, they will see you. Anybody who stands up in a room, they see you. People see you. And so what we want to understand is that if we have not actually served and changed lives or impacted or influenced persons' outcome or add value in all of your life, you have not lived, and the consequences is eternal. You would have lost yourself and you would have done harm to people just by virtue of not solving the problem you were created to solve, changing the lives and the outcomes of persons that you were sent to, and having persons become masters of their own destiny. Once you are able to do that, because purpose, all of us have the same condition when we are given our purpose, and it is to serve others and not us. It is to change lives. It is to change outcomes. It is to grow people, and it is to grow us. It is to inspire people, and it is to inspire us. If we are not changed in the process of igniting change, we are lost. We would not have achieved much. In the end, it would not have been worth it.
All right. There are key words there: to serve others. So that made me remember the beautiful quote by Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali says that the service to others is the rent we pay here on earth. And why could he say that? Is there a sense to that? Monroe did say something very important. So to those who have read his books, and of course, many of his videos are out there on YouTube, that your purpose is not to serve yourself, it's to serve others. And of course, Monroe gave several graphic examples, because I think everything that we really need is in front of us if we want to learn. But of course, we can refuse, become ignorant. For example, we can look at nature, because we are product of nature. Therefore, there are more evidence for us to learn from nature than in the classroom. Take a look at fruits like apple, orange, or mango. Have we ever seen an apple tree produce apple fruit and then eat the apple fruit? It doesn't do that. So that is to say that everything we know, our capacity, our intelligence, our ups and downs, is given to us to serve others. And it's supposed to be like this, because it is through the service of others that we grow. It's like talking. You see, you don't talk for yourself in the sense of, when you talk, it's not for yourself. You are talking for other people to hear. You see, you and I now, we are talking. What I am talking about is in me, it's inside of me. I don't have any reason whatsoever to be opening my mouth and talking for myself, except I'm crazy. I am talking now because I want you to hear me. That is the only reason that I'm opening my mouth. Blah, 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 blah. Otherwise, I don't need to say it. If I already know what I have to say, and I'm only there in the room, and I'm talking alone, something is wrong with me. Why is it difficult for people to understand that this is the way it is, that we are here to live sharing our experiences, that if I know something, if I have the ability to do anything, it is because I am giving that to do for other people, not to do for me. As I do for other people will also do for me. This way, we are obliged by nature to relate. Could you please expand on that more?
You see what I find as I grow, and as I wrote my book, My Faith Looks Up, I found that we are programmed to emphasize success and not significance. Because significance to many persons means that we have to serve. We have to give of ourselves. We have to sacrifice. And we are programmed to believe in the theory of success that for you to be successful, you must be gaining. And most of what you must gain is titles, you must gain achievements, you must gain accolades, you must be seen by the right person, you must gain connections, you must gain positions, responsibilities, and you must gain applause. But true success is really how significant you are, because persons really don't care how much you know. They just want to know that you care. And once you are actually moving on the realm of success, because I feel that there are different levels, and every level takes you from a different point of significance. And that is why when you're at your highest peak of significance or service, you automatically leave a legacy and you automatically make disciples, because people tell others how you make them feel, how you help them to change the outcome, how you added value, how you gave them hope, how you made them believe in themselves, how you assisted and supported and guided them to become masters of their own destiny. So by virtue of your significance, you actually leave a legacy. That is a part of the plan that is embedded in being significant, because you are fulfilling your purpose. So success and fulfillment goes together, but it equals significance.
Significant. Okay. Now, how do you even find your purpose? Because we are saying that living a purposeful life is the best way to live. But somebody might be wondering, but I don't even know how to find my purpose. This is happening also to a lot of people, no? All of us are not at the same level. Yeah, go on.
When I speak to my clients, I give them a formula that I call CIS. It is, first of all, you have to have what is called your compelling vision. Now, what is your compelling vision? Your compelling vision is what you love to do and what you do naturally. So that's the foundation and the basis for finding your compelling vision. Look at what you love to do and what you do naturally. And at that intersection, you're going to pull away from what gives you joy and what gives others joy, what empowers others and what inspires others. And I want to put it down in a little nitty-gritty. Your role is not your purpose, but your role can lead you to your purpose. Your responsibilities is not your purpose. Your achievements, your accolades, they are not your purpose, but all of that can push you to understand and identify your purpose. So if we are to put it in layman terms, you might be a secretary in an office, but you find that every single person who works in the organization stop by you when they're having a problem, or you are able to recognize that something is wrong when something is wrong. So you say to them, something is different today. You're looking a little different. Is everything okay? And they find the need to share that, no, I am not, I'm feeling so overwhelmed today, or I am going through a divorce or something like that. And so you find that wherever you are put, whatever role you're put in, this is what you constantly do and what you find joy in. And regardless of where you are, this is how people come to you. You might find, so you actually understand that you are a part of your purpose is giving support. Now you want to niche down to see the type of support that you constantly give. All right, you might find that you are in a church community and young persons gravitate towards you, and they always gravitate towards you when they're having a difficulty with peer pressure, or they're having an issue with their exams, or they're having issues with their parents, and you guide them and you become that type of influence. So you find that you are a mentor. Your strong point is mentoring. You want to go into the niche now. Who do you really mentor? Who are you serving constantly, regardless of your role, regardless? That is something that comes to you naturally. And persons find you naturally to solve this problem. What is the constant and what is the theme? When you get to that point, you niche it down into a compelling vision. And so after you do that, you want to make sure that you are internally aligned. So this is what you're doing naturally. This is what you love. Let's find out if this is what the plan God has for you. So you want to sit down with him through prayer and meditation and through looking through your life. So you want to use those common themes. You want to use your struggles and your challenges that you have, what you don't feel good about, what is it that interferes with what your core values are. Why do you have these feelings? How they are interfering with your path? When you put that together and you outline it, I put it on a graph and I look at things that are monumental in your life. When you have gotten a betrayal, what was the result? Why were you betrayed? How did your habits, your routines, your mindset push you into this, what you need to change, what you need to eliminate, so that you see the clear picture, what you need to hold on to, what you need to grab. So in the internal alignment, you are pushed into hearing from God, confirming based on themes, based on challenges, betrayals, and based on connections and how people approach you. And then you now sit down in the last part to get the proven strategy now to see. And the proven strategy is in itself. It gives you clues. Your roles and responsibilities, what you do naturally and what you love to do, give you clues. And so the clues are what we use after we internally align. And the internal alignment is just confirmation through God's words, through promises, through persons who keep telling you that you know you're very good at this, you know you should be so and so, you know you should so and so, and they constantly tell you and you keep pushing it away. But when you come to terms with it and you put it down on paper and you map it as you go through your life to where you now are, and the restlessness that you might feel or the change that you feel you might need, you now look at the strategy that has been established. The strategy itself is who you speak to and the success that you get when you speak to them, how their lives change, how their outcomes change, and how they become masters themselves. Once you put that down, we now draft the way forward, whether it is that you pivot or you stay where you are and understand the difference you must make, so you no longer complain that you're not getting that promotion and so on, because you understand that you're sent there to these persons to help them, and that is where your operation room is, where your vantage point is. This is where you can meet all of who you need to meet. This is how you can solve the problem that you were created to solve, etc.
All right. All right. So, Dr.
And I embed that in
Mhm.
my Purpose Accelerator program. It is, some persons need a month, some persons need 3 months, some persons need 6. We don't go beyond
Definitely,
6
they can check it out.
in
If you
the
are listening to the
program.
program, we encourage you to check out Dr. Marcia's work and, of course, speak to her. And let us know also, what is your takeaway here? Are you getting value from what we are sharing with you? You see, it doesn't cost you anything to just write a short comment and say, this is what I'm taking away from me, or it doesn't make any sense to me. There is no obligation to compare you to make sense to you. If perhaps it doesn't make sense to you, that is still fine, because you are not the only person in this world. But in case it makes sense to you, don't hide it. Say it. Let some other persons know that, just like that, somebody have gotten value from the conversation of the day. But this is what I'm thinking, Dr. Marcia. It's possible that somebody might want to do what you have recommended to them, but they don't know how to do it. They don't even know where to start from. Because if they all know what to do, you don't even have a business yourself. They don't know how. That is why you are there. You are showing them how. What is this how? How to show somebody who have maybe never even taken any step in this purpose finding before? You see, you said in the beginning that all of us, in the day that we were born, we have purpose. It is true. But many of us do not live in our purpose. And somehow somebody hear the news somewhere that they can actually live on their purpose. Now the problem start. Where should they start from? Can you guide them?
And I, when I do my coaching, my Purpose Alignment Accelerator program, and interesting as you asked me, yesterday a gentleman was recommended to me. I mostly serve women, but there are times when I serve gentlemen in my organization because of my faith-based approach. And so this person is a part of my organization and was recommended to someone. He's pivoting out of the hotel industry. And he was sent to me because he was recommended by someone who recommended the book, My Faith Lookup, because he was in an uncertain period, a very fearful period, and he actually was in the valley of weariness and uncertainty. And so what I do is, when I speak with you in my Soul Sync strategy session, I actually allow you to do what is called a purpose alignment audit. You answer some questions. The questions are, the result is given to you, and we talk about the results. When we get into the results allow you to frame your compelling vision at the start. And when you do that, you are now able to do a spiritual gifts test. So you match your spiritual gifts with your audit. And many persons find that the gifts are what they do secondary. It's really not necessarily always their primary function or showing up in the role that they find themselves in. So they match that. And after they match that, and we talk a little more, I come up with a personalized program based on their goals and what they have in their hand to use. So we start with what you have in your hand. So for example, that gentleman, as he pivots and is now in the valley of uncertainty and weariness, because purpose, you might feel that there is something more, or this is not fitting, or it is clashing with your faith and your core values, and you step away because you are sure that you need to be doing something different. You don't necessarily have it on a platter. Purpose doesn't mean that all is well and that everything lines up. Purpose means that you move by faith for every season, because every single achievement, success, or accomplishment comes with its own set of problems. So I get persons to understand the mindset of purpose, what it means. Purpose has a divine energy that requires you to have more than just resources. You need to have faith in the plan that God has established for you, and you need to have faith in yourself, and you need to understand what the faith journey you need to go on based on your established purpose. So we get them to have that spirit and mind connection, and to develop a strategy for meditation and prayer to check in with the divine source constantly as you move from stage to stage. And then what we do is we look at establishing now what I call the proven strategy. So we look at the steps. So for example, he finds that with all of what he's doing, his strength lies in finance and marketing, and he loves to write. And also, so he's good at finance and marketing, and he loves to write, and he loves to speak. So what are the opportunities that you're finding is there for you, because God always gives you the spots and spaces and the destiny helpers when your time comes. We establish that route and we know, write it down. Now he is giving you the assignment to list what is the greatest point of accessibility and what is it that is urgent based on how his physical and financial needs, taking care of his family and his children, can go, and what he's prepared to sacrifice, what he needs to give up, what he needs to exchange, and what he needs to build on. That is where he's at this point. When he comes with that, we know set out a plan, a 3-year or a 5-year plan, and we give support. So he knows the strategic actions that he will take, the immediate actions, the average actions, long-term planning, and so on.
Thank you so much for that. That explanation is very, very clear. I'm sort of wondering, is it possible that the story we tell ourselves can have a way of affecting our purpose, or whether or not we want to accept this call or not? Because I look at it as a call, essentially.
Absolutely.
Please say something about that.
Absolutely. I had a client, and she the natural gift she has is artistic. She is good at creating flowers. She's good at doing wreaths. She's very good at doing books, designing books, doing the graphics for books, and so on. And she's very good at turning things in our home that we would reject, bottles and so, into creative art, vases, and so on. But for years, she did that normally because it's something she loves to do and it gives her some amount of joy. But she's a teacher. And she came to me because she says, at this stage and age in my life, I'm feeling so frustrated and so on. And I asked why. She said, I just feel that I'm not accomplishing. I feel worthless. I feel that I keep giving to people and I can't get to, I'm not getting the financial security that I want. And I say, but let's start. Of course, we start with the mindset. And she says, the mindset is that it would be unfair. It's guilt. She would be feeling guilty if she stepped away from teaching, because really she wants to do her design. She wants to do the graphic. They give her so much joy, and the things that she has in her house, and how people feel when she does those things for them. And she really feel that that's where her heart is, and so on. But her husband is not agreeing, and so on. And so in her mindset, she feels the fear of abandonment. She feel fear of being criticized or judged, and she just feel that she would be betraying her family if she chose to do something that she loved or desired, because the teaching in her mind would have brought in the funds. And when we got through our program, the first mindset she had to change was that she was worthy. And when she looked through her home, she found that as the eldest child, she was always serving others. She was given a lot of responsibility by her parents, and she could not really live the way she wanted to live, or even be free in herself. Those are the terms she used, because so much was banking on her. And when her siblings were not doing well, or when they disobeyed, or when they gave their parents stress, she felt this great deal of guilt. And so she felt that she must be intact. She must actually be always for people. And the mindset is that a lot of persons are depending on me, and I am a failure if I do anything else, even if I'm uncomfortable. So those things came into her. She is not worth it, and so on. And she now got convince herself that this is my lot, and this is how life will always be, and I must always be there for person, and so on. And so I had to make her see that you can be there for persons and also be there for yourself, and you cannot pour from an empty cup. The long and short of it is that mindset brought her into sitting down and working out a plan to do her business on the sideline. And she made the adjustment. She went on leave, and she went firmly into working out a business plan. She created an Instagram account. She advertised her where she made persons who benefited from her, gave her testimonials, and so on. And she has started a very successful business that is bringing in twice as much as what she did with teaching. And her husband is now saying, I want to do, where I am now is not really where I want it to be. So I'm now going to have to look at doing for myself too. And so her home has become more peaceful. It has bonded her with her children who join her now, because it is now a business in their mind. And they are looking at, my mother had these skills and talents and so on. They are looking at the branches that they can assist. They are looking at how they can share and market her products. Her husband does the same. And there is a unity in her family now, because her dream has become their dream.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And that leads me to an important point. Because when we talk about this issue, of course, we talk about it a lot here in this podcast, and of course, also what I do, which is relating to personal development. You get to a point that I usually come to this part of the conversation, which is the refining of the skill. That now you have a purpose, which is what you are going to fulfill at the end of the day. But usually you don't have the skill to do that. Because when we are born, even though we are born with all the resources that we need, because really we are born with all the resources, but all the resources are in crude state. Okay, a good example that I usually give here is when you take out pure gold. No, you go to places like Nigeria or Sierra Leone or Ghana, or they dig out gold there, no, or Congo. They dig out gold. You can literally see that they dig out gold and diamond from the ground. But if you are looking what you will pay attention to is that gold is like every other dust around it. It's not like the gold is shiny. It's not shiny yet. It's a dust, like every other dust of the earth. But see what they put the gold to. They put it to fire. Fire will burn it. They will burn and burn and burn and burn until all the shafts are gone. Then you collect the gold. By the time you put it in the place, it looked very shiny. But it wasn't like that when it was in the natural state. So I think that in our natural state, we are like that dust, that gold. But if we want to shine, we need to refine ourselves. Okay. Now, refining ourselves now, meaning going into the fire. We are going to burn out the bad part in us that are hiding the shining nature of who we are. Our personality will never shine in the natural state. Our skill to be able to do things and move things and touch people and inspire people will never shine like that. I couldn't speak like this. There was no way I could have speak like this. But the ability to do this, okay, should I even call it the ability, the gift to do this? I've interviewed over 1,000 people. At the point, somebody told me, do you know that this is a gift to you? This is a gift to you. And he told me, go and look at your family. You will see that there are people, that is this gift that is running around within your family. And I've really looked around. It is true. But you see, if I don't develop this gift, it will die with me. So I wanted to speak to that. That by the time you have a purpose, a mission in life, you are going to need the skill to do that. But even though you are given the instrument, which is the skill, if you want to call it like that, is in raw state, it will never serve you until you refine it. Tell me about that.
Yes, you see, purpose is such a funny thing. And if we look in the story of Jacob and his children, Joseph and all his children, when Jacob died on his deathbed, Jacob was able to predict what the purpose of all his children were and what would put it in dormancy or derail it and how they will recover or pivot back into their purpose. And I'm putting that out so people listen to that story. So what purpose is generational. When you're born into a family, you are created in that family and your purpose is interconnected to all the other gifts and uniqueness that family members bring. And when that purpose is combined, wherever you are in the world, you are, as a family, you're giving the same impact. I wish we could explore this a little more in another, how generational faith and purpose is established and how it is built. But we start with the framework that God gives godly parents discernment. And parents by nature have been given the preparation that you're saying, the crude ground, the intrinsic knowledge. And that is why your children will never become older than you. You will always be older than your children, and you will always be wiser. Now, wiser doesn't mean that you know more than them. Wiser mean that you carry the instinctive understanding of the direction in which they're going, and you're either to guide them out or guide them fumbling in the dark into light, or walk with them throughout their purpose, because parents are always there and children always call back on their parents in the natural realm of things. There are some exceptions to every rule. So we want to establish that so we see how it is tied in or how it is intersected. But some children, when they are born, for example, if I'm to give a practical example, the moment they are born, they keep reaching for books, whether they tear up the book or they look through the book, or they just gravitate towards book. You come in, you put your things down, they gravitate towards the book, not the bag, not the phone, not the book. And you can either destroy that natural predisposition or you can nurture it. So what you do, some people do, is that they keep spanking the child to leave that book. And some other wise parents provide books for them to say, this is yours. You can do anything you want with it. They tolerate the tearing up at the start. Then they realize that the pictures will console the child or confirm. The child begins to draw, and you say to them, go and pick up your book and study. You have your exams to do, stop the drawing. And so you kill that gift also, that unique tendency. And then the child does what you want. So the child does well in school, of course, does his homework and so on. But that child hides and creates the book, the drawing, the all of those. So you might say you find the child underneath his bed with a flashlight reading his book, because if he takes up the book to do that, you have this mindset, or you have been programming your family to believe that you must be working and busy. And if you're not working and busy and doing chores, once you're sitting down or reading a book, you are going to destroy your future. So we destroy, we find that purpose that it has been established in our child, we distort it. You might find a child who constantly looks at saving his money. He doesn't want to spend it. He doesn't save. And he tries to say, okay, please buy that for me. buy that goat or buy that chicken or buy that gadget, and we destroy the child because the child is too young. And we sometimes we laugh at it because we say this child is so mean and so tight, or this child is so prudent with his money and very selfish and so on. And we sometimes taunt the child and take away the money, and the child goes into a tantrum and so on. But we're in our minds, we are serving the child. But that child later becomes a financial wizard and becomes one of the great economists, or that child becomes a graphic artist, or the child becomes one of the greatest producers or publishers in the family that generates his money and wealth that he now comes to serve the family with. And there are some children who like to always cook, and we are saying because you're a male, being a chef is not a profession, but the child becomes one of the greatest chefs in the world. How do we nurture it? We build on what they are doing naturally, even if it is a hobby in our mind, and even something like that. We create this space where we give them room to breathe, to become themselves, to search and test themselves, to see what they produce and to see what they genuinely love. And that is why I do not like schools who create what is called a vocation program. So they say when the child gets into grade 9, they will now pick the subjects that they want to do, and they will now put them on a career path. But guess what? This child that is being put on a career path, who is excelling in the sciences and so on, does not want to do anything with the sciences and so on. But because they're excelling, you say, okay, you can be a dentist, a great doctor, great. So you push them into that vocation. And the child goes into the vocation and does well, but the child does the other things that he wants to do, maybe singing. The child might want to become a singer. The child writes his lyrics. The child loves to sing. So when he's in his university and so on, they're having concerts and so here he goes with his original lyrics. He writes things for people. He does ads for people and so on. But that is not the gift. That's not the vocation he's in. That's not the training that he's now on. He's now training for the sciences. And so when he comes out, many of them become the doctor for you, and then they pick up their hobby as their job, and you get so upset because you're saying, look why would you change and do ads and so on when you actually have the credentials to be a doctor? Because in the minds of parents and the programming that we have, our children can only do well if they go into those areas. And so how you nurture it is that you look at the pattern that your child established naturally, and what the child takes delight in, what the child blooms and glows and excel in, and you nurture those things. And alongside that, you say, okay, because you have to be prepared for the world, make sure you have to graduate from high school and get your GED or whatever we call it in the other countries. You have to get your 6Cs. You have to maybe get an associate to even go into the job market for people to really recognize you when you become a chef. You have to get that training. And so you want them to say you have to do well on a holistic framework as you go towards what you're good at, what is natural, what gives you joy, and what can profit you in the long run. Because God expects us to use our gifts and our talents to maintain ourselves. And he says it in the Bible. It must maintain you. That's why I've given it to you. And in the maintaining, it must also serve others. It must change their lives. It must change their outcomes. We need to nurture and stop bullying our children when they display the natural gifts and talents that are given to them because we don't like it, or because it doesn't serve our purpose or our connections or where we find ourselves.
All right. Now, I've got a question for you. In all this that you do, what is your purpose? I want you to help people to understand by sharing your purpose so that they can also find their purpose. What is your purpose as Dr. Marcia?
Well, from my purpose as Dr. Marcia is really to equip persons who I find that I equip persons from ever since who are weary. These have this weariness or emotional exhaustion. I find that I got very impatient with persons who have victim mentalities. I found that I love to encourage, I love to support, and I love to mentor. And I'm very good at that. And I do a lot of training and so on. So I found myself in a vocation where I was able to do that, equip, teach, empower, build, support, and mentor people. So I started out as an educator. As I was placed in my community as a church person growing up in the church, I found that I did the same thing. I equip persons, I allow persons to think and to become masters of their own destiny. Persons knew what they were about, stood up for their values, understood themselves. I found that I push persons to be their authentic self, those types of things. And I also, because of my Christian upbringing, I always make sure that it is aligned with understanding who you are in the sight of God and in the sight of man, and how you can put that all together so that you live joyfully and you fulfill yourself and your destiny. I always also found that my purpose was to make persons understand that you must be yourself in all circumstances, and you, in the process of it, you must, where service falls, whatever you do, you must always be true to yourself as a needle to the pole. You must be true and honest. Your integrity must be very important to your character. So I pull persons to be confident, to get clarity, to believe in themselves, and also to serve others regardless of who they are, in the sense that even if they are your enemies and you can help them, you must help them. So I pull persons towards service and towards self-fulfillment and self-empowerment. That's my purpose.
Right.
Whether I'm a teacher, whether I'm an educator, whatever it is. Now, when you understand your purpose, you must also understand the journey towards your purpose. And you must also understand the opportunity. You must be able to discern the opportunities, because they don't always come clear cut. And you must understand that in purpose, the challenges and the struggles and the betrayals and the disappointments and the ungratefulness that is shown to you by persons does not mean that you are to give up your purpose. It does not mean that you are to be tit for tat. It means that you understand that purpose is a refiner fire. And you said it earlier, purpose becomes your refiner fire. The greater the hurt, the pain, the trauma, or disappointment is the strongest impressions your purpose has on you. Persons don't learn to swim on land. They have to go into the
I
water.
love that.
And once you're in the water, you have to find your way out. No, it is your faith that keeps you anchored in your purpose. Your faith that this is the plan that God has given you, and He has made a way. He will not forsake you. He will not leave you. He will give you the discernment that you need. He will give you favors when it is your time for favor. He will give you strength when you need strength. He will give you wisdom when you need wisdom. The thing about faith is, as I have established in my book, is that when God can trust you, He sometimes doesn't appear to be showing up. So you seem to be in the wilderness by yourself, and it is prolonged, and you call on Him, you fast, you pray, you do all sorts of things, and you seem to be stuck where you are. It is because He can trust you, and you must now exercise the faith in the assignment that you have been given and the point that you have made. And that is why I say I teach my clients and I carry them through the process, the different levels of assignment that you get when you are establishing your purpose, and the level of faith that you need for each. There's a preparation stage, there's a sustenance stage, there is this anointing stage, and then there's the appointment stage, and then there's the commission. So when you start out on your purpose, you don't just press into your purpose. There are different levels of assignment that you get to cement your faith, so that when you reach the point where you're carrying out your purpose, nothing deters you, nothing disappoints you, nothing pulls you back into the place where you derail or you understand the divine nature of your purpose, and you understand the divine energy that comes from having faith, because this gives you clarity, it gives you the confidence that you need, and it more than ever gives you the endurance that we call resilience. And so it is a complex framework when you are getting yourself, and sometimes on the journey towards fulfilling your purpose, the pressure becomes so great and the weight becomes so pressure filled that you feel like giving up. and you feel like, am I on the right path? It couldn't be, because there's so much challenges. But there are persons who explain to you that if somebody said to me that I would now have a multi-million dollar industry when I started out in my garage, or walking on the street, or drinking out of a particular cup that it's the only cup I have, or when I had one suit on my back and now I have so many in my closet, I would laugh at them. If somebody told me that I would have had a foundation where I'm helping single mothers because I was in a great relationship and I became a single mother because I either lost my husband through death or I got divorced, and I recognize the challenge of single mothers. And if somebody told me that I would have a foundation that is serving single mothers across the world, I would tell them that they are joking. The challenges I have, the many times that I felt that I would give up, there are many persons who give you that testimony. There are other persons who are on their deathbed now who says, if I had my life to live over, this is what I would have done. And so this is what I want you to do for me with the resources that I have. That's purpose.
Thank you so much for that. That is also the power of story. By the time we are able to craft it, is able to get other people involved in it. Just now I was doing a discovery call, because in the Obehi podcast, we have added a discovery call to it. Now, if you want to be a guest here, we want to first of all know, what story do you want to share? How can we serve you better? Because it's not just about talking, but can you get something out of it for your business too? So we're talking to this NGO founder, and we're talking about how to better leverage her story to attract her founder, so that the founder can buy into her mission. Therefore, it becomes easier for her, instead of just trying to bamboozle the funder, the people who are going to finance the project with all the statistics and data. So story have a lot way in being able to get other people involved in what we are doing. So thank you so much for that sharing. Now, I have a
Yeah.
curiosity. Now, you have talked with a lot of people, particularly your client, people that are coming to you who you are helping. Now, have you had a time to sort of figure out, why are people not having purpose?
I have, and I've written about it in my A Leader Like You. And it gets to the point where, when we talk about, there is a thing that I call leadership revelation and what I call leadership theory. Because the theories that we have been given in life makes it very difficult for many of us to find our purpose. The survival instinct that has been placed in us, where we must survive, especially men, because you'll find that sometimes the man and the woman goes to the same college, do the same course. But when the man comes out, the man is unable to find a job. And that man is pressured by everybody in society, family, friends, everybody, that you are not looking hard enough. You're the man, you have to find a way out. But the girl is supported. You can't find it, so sad. So, and it's the same market. The market is saturated, but the approach is more one of a supportive approach to the female as against an oppressive approach to the male. And so in that way, a lot of persons are forced out of desperation into circumstances that they would have, if they had the time, they would not have chosen. So after becoming comfortable in the, let me put it in quotes, rewards of where they are, the job might be paying them very well. They are good at their roles. They are very good in carrying out their responsibilities and their job description. They settle. Many persons settle for what they have and not for what they should be becoming. And so where you are and who you should be becoming is a different thing. So many people settle where they are instead of having and exercising the faith that this is my starting point. I am on the preparation ground. So they, instead of preparing, they settle down. And it is when they become restless, when they do not see any scope of growing as they grow older and the demands become more, and it is when they are harassed or they find themselves in a toxic situation, that the reality hits them that where I am and where I should be is no a distance and I need to do some catching up. Some people get so frustrated and so helpless where they have sickled themselves that they now cannot find the energy or the strength to change. And if they are Christians and they realize and have been praying and fasting and see no end and no change, they tend to also give up and lose their faith and they dissolve themselves that this is a lot. And so they are resting, and I call it the DNA pull. And I have them embrace what I call the free model. The free model starts you at the place of where you started leaking and where you need to pick up now. What you need to believe in and how you believe in yourself, the faith that you have in how you can change your circumstances. And then you go to the release, where you now look at the same thing, where we now look at your compelling vision, we look at your internal alignment, and we look at the strategy that you would now use to free yourself. And then we look how you would engage, and then we look at how you would now evolve or evaluate where you are at, and because you need to get to those places. So it's a complex thing when you have lost sight of who you are and where you ought to be. And it is a very difficult thing when you take too long to push yourself. It requires much more, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. We love to hear that positive side of it too, to let people understand that no matter where you find yourself today and no matter the circumstances, it's not the end of the road. Sometimes a failure for many of us should be seen as a temporary setback. It's not a final destination.
Yeah.
If you are going to a place and there is no obstacle on the way, you should be scared of going to that place, because every path that you want to go, there are always obstacles. Again, we need to learn from nature. We don't only need to learn in the classroom. What is nature? Go into the forest, for example. You know that thing they call traffic light? It is in nature. That if you are in the forest, you just walk and walk and walk. At a point, if you are not careful, maybe a rope, one tree that grow into another tree will hold you by the hair like this. Sometimes there are hook on it. It's telling you, hey, slow down. And if you pay attention, maybe there is something there. Maybe there is a hole there. So that if that thing doesn't hold, you might end up falling inside that. I remember, for example, in one of my books, I made the stream water. I give a vivid description of this, of Ahmed eventually rolling into a very deep ditch, and it will remain there for a long time. Okay, that is a series of situations that actually led to that. But what I'm saying is that if we want to learn, we can learn from nature. That is everything in nature. In fact, most of the things that we have in our society are built up of what is in nature. For example, the train. You see, the train is built up of an animal called millipede. They have several legs. For the fact that the millipede is able to distribute all its weight and move in those tiny legs and walk in nature, the person who was idealizing this possibility of having a train for the first time need to look at that. We're going to have this structure that is going to be rolling on a track and it's going to carry a lot of weight, just like the millipede. So what about the aerodynamics of the aeroplane that we have? We study the birds to know that not all the birds are small. There are very huge birds, but they fly. They fly because they have developed the aerodynamic for them to be able to remain in the air and move. So the person who wants to develop the airplane is studying that. So we're basically taking from, because we are part of nature. Do you want to learn? The library is there in front of you, so you can learn from that.
Yes.
All right.
There's a challenge. The tricky point, the most tricky point that I find in purpose is when you know what you want to do. I want to put it in very simple terms so people understand. And because that is the trickiest part of purpose, where you know what you want to do and you know how you actually can, but you get almost to, every time you get to the point where you must cross over, there's a disappointment, there is a setback, there is something. So you're trapped in a cycle of stagnation or you are strapped in this cycle of want. So what do I mean? You might have your purpose to establish it, you put your plan together, you are supposed to get a loan at the bank, but at the last minute, the bank says they cannot grant you the loan. Or you find that you would have gotten a great opportunity, you would have been put in the hands of someone who really can fulfill your purpose, whether it is through business or whatever, but you give them your money and for some reason they are not coming through, and your frustration is heightened. So you're almost, notice what I'm saying and what I'm doing, you're almost, but for some reason there is a wall that comes up, and there are some persons who go through that cycle, trapped in that cycle, where it is at the end that they can't cross over. Everything runs smoothly, but when they get to the end, every time they get to the point where they are to cross over, there is an obstacle that appears to be unbearable. And I have met many persons like that in my practice that I have to guide, and that in itself trap them in a mindset. You talked about mindset. It traps them in a mindset of lack of doubt, and lack of faith. It traps them in that mindset. Once that is released, the doubt and the faith is increased, the vibration gets there, they cross over. But there is the method that we have to use to get them to free, the free model, that you have to get them over that point, because they have reached a point where they have been built up so often, everything runs well, and some of them have even made the transition in their minds, relocated, do everything, but now they are worse off in their mind than where they are before, because somehow there's a roadblock right there. And I try to get persons past that. I have been successful in 2 persons, and that has helped them to become, what would I call now, strength for support for persons in their family who have had the same experience. Because as I say, some of these purpose and cycles are generational. And so once one person breaks that cycle, it gives other persons hope to break the cycle, and they actually get the discernment and wisdom and confidence to show their family members how to break the cycle.
Thank you so much.
And that's it.
Thank you so much for that. This has really been a very interesting conversation here, and I've learned a lot, and I believe that you, the person that is listening to this video, reach out to Dr. Marcia if you want to learn more and benefit also from what she's doing. Then, of course, you are going to take home something important based on her years of service, her years of study, and her years of practice. That is what we are just simply telling you to do. So, Dr. Marcia, tell people how to reach out to you as we end the conversation today.
All right, they can send me a DM on my LinkedIn profile. I am now also on Substack. My Christian Leadership Essential newsletter will be moved over to Substack. It will be merged. Let me put it like that. And also, you can also contact me at my website, drtpmotivate2.com, or at my email address, drtpmotivate2.com. So let me repeat that. I can be reached on my LinkedIn. I can also be reached on Instagram or Facebook. And you can send me a direct message, or you can send me an email at drtpmotivate2.com, or you can take a look at contacting me through my website at drtpmotivate2.com, number 2.com.
All right. Thank you so much for
you can also, I'm also asking that person support me and go on Amazon to get this book, My Faith Looks Up. It's a powerful book. It actually gives persons exercise that they can actually do after they go through each chapter to build their faith and to align it to their purpose, to identify their purpose and to pull it towards them and build the faith and confidence and clarity they need to move into their purpose and get fulfillment, joy, and success and profit from what they are called to do.
I like that profit part. That is very interesting. So thank you so much, Dr. Marcia. That'll be really an interesting conversation here. And of course, it's not the last one. We'll come here again for other important topic that, of course, we are treating. So Dr. Marcia is always with us every 2 weeks on our African Diaspora Storytelling series. The last one we talked about starting to love ourselves. And of course, we are always here. We are faithful. We are never going to go anywhere because we believe this is a call to us and we are going to answer it. So make sure you support us. Make sure you support what we are doing. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and make sure you share also with your friends, those who are you believe can benefit from it, because we bring in different experts like Dr. Marcia to share their story, founder, business people that are running their different businesses so that they can share their experiences with you. And we hope that by the time these experiences that we share with you get to your doorstep, you take action, because action is the magic that changes things. If you don't take action, it's going to be like yesterday. But if you take action, you will start having a change from this moment on. So thank you so much. Continue to support us. Thank you so much, Dr. Marcia.
Thank you so much. It was my joy and my delight being here.